in April this year, Tenafly, a borough in the U.S. state of New Jersey, designated October 21st as Korean Hanbok Day. Now, this is precisely the day we here in Korea commemorate our traditional attire. So for more on this designation overseas, I have Claire Lim at the Asian American Youth Council live on the line. Claire, hello.
Hi, Sunny. Thanks. I'm glad to be here today.
Right, thank you for making the time, Claire. Now, Claire, let's begin with the actual event last Thursday to commemorate Tenafly's first Korean Hanbok Day, which essentially is the first official celebration of this special day outside of the country, Claire.
So for the event, it went pretty well. I performed as the MC, and we had around 400 people show up for the first Korean Hanbok Day event. We had some congratulatory messages from politicians, a fashion show, and a Korean traditional wedding of Mayor Mark Sina. We even had time for Gangang Sule with Master Jinsuk Choi, where everyone held hands together and circled around the park in the form of the Korean flag. And to me, the most memorable part of the event was the statewide proclamation the First Lady of New Jersey, Tammy Murphy, brought to designate October 21st as Korean Hanbok Day.
Right. Now, Claire, take us a few steps back and tell us how this day was designated by officials there.
So at the beginning of the year, there were some Chinese YouTubers who claimed Hanbok was Chinese, and Hanbok was also seen in some Chinese traditional dramas. And since history is passed down through involvement from politicians and not YouTubers, we sent letters to politicians around us. And out of all of them, Tenafly Mayor Mark Sina responded first. And so on April 4th, 2021, the first Hanbok Day was proclaimed. And after that, in Closter, the second Hanbok Day was proclaimed. And when we had our first Korean Hanbok Day event, October 21st became known as Korean Hanbok Day all throughout New Jersey.
Right, so your council has played a pivotal part in raising better awareness of Korean culture, Hanbok that is. So staying with your council then, Claire, do tell us a bit about it. When and how was it established?
So in September of 2017, there was a teacher at a New Jersey high school that said, "I hate Koreans" 6 times during class. And so the school actually tried to cover this incident up. However, Brian John started a petition and gathered 1,500 signatures and delivered it to the Board of Education's monthly meetings. And so the day after that, the teacher was dismissed from the school. Due to this incident, Brian John founded the Asian American Youth Council due to concerns that second-generation Koreans wouldn't be able to speak up. And AAYC originally started with 50 members from around 30 different high schools in New York and New Jersey. Currently, we have original members who have entered college in about 5 different states, and we even have members in Korea and New Zealand. AAYC works for Korean diaspora's public diplomacy and the increase of political power of second-generation Koreans.
Claire, I understand your council also played a significant part in rectifying false information online about Korea's kimchi. Could you tell us more?
So at the beginning of the year, when you searched origin of kimchi on Google, it stated China and showed the Chinese flag. And so AAYC had a meeting and decided on a certain time. And through social media, we had about 1,000 American users send feedback on Google at the same time. And so after an hour and 30 minutes, it was changed back to Korea.
I see. Also, back in August, Claire, I believe your council held a flag-raising ceremony in Manhattan, New York, to mark Korea's 76th Liberation Day. Tell us about that.
So in July, AAYC founder Brian and other members visited Korea, and there at a temple called Jingwansa, they learned about Chor Snim, an independence activist who protected the Korean flag during the Japanese colonial era. And so after that, Brian proposed to raise the Korean flag in the United States in gratitude for the activist. And so after meeting together, we decided to raise the flag at Bowling Green Park in Manhattan, New York. This is where the last British flag was lowered in New York after the United States gained independence from Britain in 1783, and the first American flag with 13 stars was raised. It is a symbolic place to commemorate independence, so there the taegukgi was raised for a week on Liberation Day to commemorate the independence of Korea.
I see. Claire, much of your council's activities appears to be centered on raising awareness about history and culture. What more can you tell us about the motivations behind your council's campaign and perhaps a few words on your future plans?
So when our founder, Brian John, was working with politicians, they said to him, unite together and don't lose your own identity and language. That would be your weapon and power. And so 3 years ago, when I became an AAYC member, I wasn't entirely sure why we had to help politicians. Um, However, while working with AAYC for the past few years, I understood how the relationship we formed led to the first Korean Hanbok Day. And every member probably went through the same process as I did. After around 1 or 2 years, it's easy for every member to understand why we do this work. And so AAYC is growing at a very fast pace. Through our motivation and dedication, our voices could be heard.
Right, I see. All right, Claire, thank you very much for making the time to share with us your efforts and best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.